Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well out there. We haven't had a discussion-like video for a while, and wanted to bring up a few topics that have been on my mind over the past few months, and I wanted to organize my thoughts the best I could here into a few major points. My goal with this video here is to kind of set a healthier baseline mindset and kind of spread awareness of lesser talked about issues in the community, which I hope people can kind of resonate with. Down below, I'll also include 2 videos of other creators that kind of can go along with this one to help give you a bigger, fuller picture. I know I'm preaching to the choir here when I'm talking about how people act in an online space. I understand how futile that really is ultimately. It's 2 things. One is very obvious, the other isn't so apparent, and I'll need to explain. DBD is complicated, really, that's an understatement. DBD also has a quote-unquote learning problem. Just entertain me for a minute, trust me. Point 1, the game has a lot of depth, and it's not a party game. So DBD has been around for a decade at this point. A point you play this game, you will quickly become overwhelmed by the sheer amount of knowledge and time the game demands of you. To become even somewhat decent at the game, even time, you need like 1,000, 2,000 hours is still considered newer or intermediate at the game. Today's DBD is not the same game it was 10 years ago. It has a lot of streamlined competitive elements or balancing that kind of aim to make the game more of a standard PvP live service game that we know today. For example, MMR. Would a party game really have MMR? I'm honestly still kind of surprised how often I hear that DBD is a party game for a lot of people when it's clearly grown past a lot of those elements that a party game would have back in, like, say, 2016 when the game released. And as such, they kind of justify their behavior, treating it like a strict party game, right? And having an attitude that it's not that serious. Obviously, it is a game at the end of the day. But what I'm really trying to get at here is that if you just put that as a front to try to justify certain behavior or actions within the game when everyone else is trying to accomplish a more competitive aspect or goal, that's the problem I'm seeing. And when they're trying to justify their in-game actions, right? Or how they go about treating the game as a whole and kind of disregarding all of the effort put into it to make it a more balanced or even more competitive experience as a whole, right? Obviously doesn't really fly nowadays. And its player base has organically given the game a lot of depth over the years. And this is not a slight at more casual players. And if you're a casual player, that's totally fine. But you can't ignore all the depth and mechanics and effort they put in to make the game more of a balanced and, well, competitive experience as a whole. I could totally understand it can be very frustrating to learn the various parts of the game. There's quite a lot to learn, especially if it's a game that you don't play very often. Everyone approaches this game very differently in how they learn. They, in a sense, make the rounds. They teach themselves the rope with killers, perks, maps, and everything in between. It could certainly be quite a lot to learn from and put into practice on both sides, right? Unfortunately, for new or inexperienced players, there is a lack of in-game tutorials or guides from behavior. They have mentioned fairly recently that they would address the issue, which they have, luckily. Let's hope they continue to do so, as it really has kind of done a lot of damage, what I've noticed over the many years and months I've been playing this game, and even longtime players of this game, which I'll get to in a moment. It could certainly be quite a lot to learn and put into practice on just one side, let alone both roles that the game offers. I do want to stress that you really play both roles to really gain a well-rounded perspective on what I'm trying to get at here. What really matters is that you learn from your mistakes and you persist through them, right? It's how you get better at anything, right? Practice makes perfect. What I'm trying to get around to here is that you can't be treating the game so, not casually, but you really have to make sure that you're treating the game with the respect it has developed. Point 2, learn rather than just quit. And growth isn't linear. This is in reference to everything I've been talking about so far, and people will just give up. There's been nonstop. It's the, DC epidemic, people have called it, and people just give up when they're just slightly inconvenienced. DBD can be really enjoyable experience under all the grinding and learning you have to get through. Again, it is a decade old. Allowed me to sidetrack for just a moment here to really make my point, right? There is a term in psychology called ambivalence. I'm not a psychologist, but in short, right, for the purposes of this video about a video game, when getting into an activity, be it a game, a task, a skill, or even a job, right, you cognitively get to a point where it may seem more than you expected, or you failed, right? So you have a choice. You could either persist and learn from the mistakes, both yours and others around you, or you could easily ignore what can be learned and stick to your bias and experience as true, since it could be passed off as irrelevant, right? So ambivalence makes you more fair and honest about yourselves. So we often learn that we performed badly, right? We may blame the situation, and yet if we do well, we'll credit our own efforts. This bias in thinking makes us feel good, right? But prevents us from seeing the situation's full reality, right? Which can impair our ability to learn and self-correct. In contrast, ambivalent people will recognize that their success or failure resulted both from the efforts and their circumstances. And as such, they will have a more realistic assessment of the situation. So what am I talking about? In DBD terms, you have to learn from your experiences from the game. If you just give up or you don't bother learning counterplay, then it's going to be difficult for you to even manage, right? You lose a match as a killer or survivor. Do you know what happened in that match to cause you to lose without blaming someone else? Something outright outside of like bugs or jank? I mean, again, this game is a decade old. How was your macro or micro play? Did someone make a bad play? How did both sides perform? If you take a step back and see what, if anything, to gain from that match at all. If you just take a step back and see what you could have learned, instead of just emotionally reacting to something, you'll find it beneficial. So as a survivor, on one side, was there something you could have done to save or prolong a teammate's demise? Should you have taken chase or bought time somehow? As killer, did you take a chase that was too long? Should you have patrolled somewhere else? And so on, right? I'm not saying to be a complete unemotional husk. I'm just simply saying just evaluate your games after the fact. Win or lose, what did the other side do well on or poorly at in order to reach that result? My point is, be it DBD or else, ambivalence in improving at something requires you to stick to it and take a step back when you need to on what you could have realistically done differently and what was out of your control. That's the point I'm trying to get at, right? I'm seeing a lack of this in players, right? And it's very frustrating when I'm trying to play a game and people just give up or they don't want to engage with it anymore because they just don't want to learn the counterplay. It's too hard, I give up. And it kind of ruins the match for everyone else. Let me give you an example, right? An extremely common hypothetical example. Imagine there's 2 generators left, you have a few hook states, and you need to catch up somehow to achieve a win, or at the very least, a compromise, maybe 1 or 2 kills. So you can, say, tunnel someone out, confirm a hook state by proxy camping, potentially getting the team to, get off gens to come save, or perhaps you select a person and chase another to keep the team, occupied, half the team occupied. Whatever you choose to do, you as the killer are making an effort to persist and logically try to win a PvP game. Everyone should have agreed to play by hitting that ready up button. That choice isn't inherently without risk though. That killer, whoever it is, you, whoever, right? Your opponent or you, is taking your risk with their time, since the killer really is just time management simulator, just to get one player out of the match, or get a second state, or buy more time with a slug survivor. The survivors can risk ignoring the survivor and getting tunneled, slugged, camped, whatever, and push the objective, or they could choose to get off the generators entirely to potentially save their teammate. It's kind of a back and forth. Whatever the outcome is of this example, right, should be used as a means of improvement, either as survivor or killer. But that's the thing. It's a tough pill to swallow if you are winning or especially losing, be it pride or ego or unwillingness to learn. It's uncomfortable to think about it, and it should be uncomfortable because that's how you grow. It is needed for you to be better at this activity, perform your role. What it really comes down to is that people may just be too invested in the game. They may be burned out. They kind of need to pull back and see the big picture. It's a lot of circumstance, but at its core, this game is a PvP game. a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into trying to even just win the game sometimes, right? Or some people are just chilling, and if something just by happenstance inconveniences you and you just give up, I don't know what to tell you. So you would expect your opponent to do what they can to logically win or stop you from achieving your objective, just like any other game. I feel like I'm going crazy here for having to try to explain this, but expecting anything else would be straight up lunacy. I hate saying this word. It's entitled. Growing past that is kind of my goal here, that I'm trying to relay and trying to convey. If you identify with any of these behaviors, or if you've seen them, I'm hoping that you can call it out and kind of learn from this, is what I'm hoping. Because it is a very rewarding experience if you stick to it, right? Just learn from the game instead of just emotionally reacting, lashing out. It does suck to be singled out of a game or gen rushed or whatever it may be. If your opponent has the option to bring strong or meta loadouts, right? Just like in any other game, then it makes sense that the other side may try to outplay you or to try to counter that, right? The more you play, you will quickly realize that DBD at a higher level is played with perks or synergies being a necessity, not optional, unfortunately. You can't do many mean builds at a higher MMR, you just get dumpstered, it sucks. I won't comment on the balance of the game or builds or perks exactly, as that's a discussion for another time, but outside of like actual BM or taking things too personally in like endgame chat, it's not personal. It's a tactical or logical choice in a match, is what I'm trying to get at here. Is if you are taking the time to understand how a match played out and why it played out the way it did, you will understand no one is tunneling you out for personal reasons. There are some people who do that. I recognize that, right? But if we're talking about the day-to-day average game, it's a tactical, logical choice. Like they need to catch up, or you are trying to do, you're just doing your objective as survivor. The killer can't really get mad at you for just doing the objective either. To kind of help alleviate this issue leads me to my next point. Point 3, play both sides. This is a bit of a short one. If you prefer to play one side, that's totally fine. What I'm saying here is you should actually dedicate time to play both sides. It takes time to try different killers, perks, and even meme builds. Why not? Make an effort to see what's strong, what's not so strong. You are left with a more balanced understanding of the game when engaging with the game. If you do not, then you are going to come off as unfairly biased or possibly even entitled, right? You may be perceived that way. Then, and if you still continue to ignore the plights of one side and you don't try to expand your horizons and stick to your own, it kind of leads me to my next point here. Point 4, affecting the whole game. I need you to strap in for this one. Back in the 9.20 PTB update with the anti-tunnel and anti-slugging changes, it caused a lot of controversy. Rightly so. It did try to alleviate player concerns around being slugged and so on, but it failed to acknowledge how this game is actually played by its core audience. As you cannot patch out what many players are coming to now to terms with is ignorance.
This game should not be balanced around ignorance, and
you can't patch out ignorance. If you don't understand something in a game, go figure out why. You can't fix the issues of tunneling, slugging, and camping if you don't understand the reasons behind those. Again, we're not talking about malicious reasons. So the patch coddled the survivor role and punished a killer's agency, all because of a widespread unwillingness to learn the game in all of its parts. Keep an open mind and take it upon yourself to rise to the occasion. Don't expect the devs to make gameplay easier for you. Access to information? For sure, right? Like tutorials and so on? Yes, for sure. That kind of leads me into the next one. Casual players are what bring in money and kind of keep the game alive. That's just true. So it makes sense when you try to make it easier or digestible for a player so they stay engaged with the game. While true, if the player chooses to not improve at the game and at the same time they hit a metaphorical wall, a skill or knowledge check, if you will, with tougher opponents or circumstances, it's a challenge. So it's up to you to take on that challenge. You are rewarded with the satisfaction of being able to undertake such a challenge if you succeed. What you learn from it, or if you don't, you continue to expect the game to be easier and ignore it. Thus, you may call things unfair in a asymmetrical PvP game. That's ridiculous, right? You can't just expect it to be easy all the time. You have to face some level of adversity. Luckily, the patch was not sent to live, but the core issue I'm seeing over the past few months since that update still remains. How do we fix it? I believe we have to start with the mindset and what I'm trying to get at here. Being a little more ambivalent and to stop taking things so personally for how a match played out, right? How you approach the game by being a little more ambivalent, being very real with yourself, challenge yourself, challenge your bias, take that initiative to improve. It doesn't help to just for me to say skill issue or get good. I want you to call out toxic or unwarranted behavior. I want everyone to hopefully take a look at this and be like, hey, I've learned, I'm putting this into action. I'm hopefully getting you guys to get out there, call out toxic and unwarranted behavior, put to practice your big picture understanding of the game. This way we can largely move on from like us versus them arguments and get the game into a healthier and more manageable state. Thus kind of alleviate the issue of why something happened. So there's less frustration with new, casual, and concurrent players. This is from my experience. I have countless examples of players, just happens to be mostly survivors, coming into my chat and flame me for performing my role in a video game that they agreed to play. It is not a killer's goal to consider the other side's enjoyment. I put thousands of hours into this game and characters I still wish to improve on, and what I do in the moment-to-moment gameplay is going to reflect that. Therefore, if I'm going to enjoy being a little more competitive, trying to improve how I'm playing, that's how I'm going to be playing the game. What you do in a match is up to you though. That's what I do. What's crazy is that I actually had someone come into my chat after a match, right? And they got tunneled out and it was a 2v8 match. Me and the other person playing weren't even aware they even got tunneled. It was just opportune. I was talking to chat. I wasn't even trying to tunnel, right? It just happened. They came into the chat. They were upset about it. They actually had a moment of reflection in chat and they actually came around to be like, you know what? I overreacted. And they actually grew from this, right? And they said, oh, you're probably going to laugh at me, or your community's going to make fun of me for this, right? It's like, no. This is good. Like, this is exactly what I want, right? People to kind of like, okay, I overreacted. That's too much. And being a little more ambivalent, perhaps will grow from this. That's my hope, right? And it was a fellow TTV, right? And that was awesome to see. And it proves that if you just take a moment, right, in a real example, reflect on it, it's just like, it's not that bad. It's fine, right? It happened. It's whatever. I played bad or bad circumstances, bad luck, whatever it may be. They did take it emotionally at first. They had an outburst and they even came to chat to kind of come at me for it, but they realized it was a mistake and that was awesome to see that they grew from it right then and there. Can we talk about how many hooks I've gotten? The Wesker's been going hard on support. Well, don't be stream snapping. That'd be crazy. Okay, what a gentleman. Thank you. Oh, this is cinematic with the red light. The exit you're getting is out of life. Da-na-na-na. That was pretty good. GG's. Let's see. Do you guys have... Oh, wait. Hold on. Was this you? Hold on. Do you guys have to down me the minute I'm engaged? It's not like we tracked you down, right? You were just there. I don't know what that means with bronze rank. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's just the game. You know what? This is a perfect example. Right? Hold on. Hold on. This is actually, I'm asking so seriously. Do you think we tunneled you on purpose and personally or on accident and just by happenstance? I'm truly asking because this is actually perfect. Okay, maybe overreact. Maybe just a bit. Like I didn't do it on purpose, right? It's not like, oh, TTV, I gotta tunnel this person. No. You were just there. It was just the opportune play, and it wasn't just because I want to just win, but like it don't feel. No, that's totally okay. See, look at that conversation. Yeah, that's very adult of you to say. Like, I'm not infantilizing you, right? Sometimes you're irritated, it happens, but what matters is like what could you have done in that match, you know, is sometimes out of your control. Just bad luck sometimes, right? It's like, oh, dang, I got unhooked, and then, I don't know, on the survivor's end, maybe they could have waited a second, right? Or maybe, I don't know, they did take a lot of body blocks, so you guys were doing quite well, right? I'll do the Wraith build, killer, not hag. Well, I just better say myself in front of me. It makes me think everyone in green makes fun of me. No. Everyone here, yeah, people get the boots. Yeah, no, it takes a lot. It's not that we're making fun of you, by no means, right? Some people do come in here with malintent, right? I wouldn't beat yourself over and call yourself an idiot. It's just you kind of got the best of yourself for a second, but you reeled back, right? You recovered and reeled back way faster than I've seen most people. Right, and you actually gave it a second thought and a second chance. So I think that's very fucking cool of you. I'm not gonna lie. If I were to flip this on its head, the survivors, if I were to say, hey, the survivors should just let me get some kills or hook states in. They shouldn't stay on generators when someone is taking chase. They can give me a chance to at least try to chase this person. Like, come on, give the poor killer a break. Obviously, no, that doesn't make sense. The double standards here is what I'm trying to tackle, right? It doesn't make sense. Why should I, or any killer for that matter, if I'm playing survivor or killer, should give concessions to the other side? It's a PvP game at the end of the day. Confronting the other side and complaining about it should never really happen if you are a little more ambivalent, self-aware, and frankly, less emotionally invested, like it's life or death. Point 5, both big and small. Everyone should be going into the game accepting the outcome no matter what it may be. What could have been done differently and how the match has progressed. Being negatively reactionary to the other side really gets you nowhere. The majority of the time, people will understand this and people are mature and people just don't complain all the time. But I still see this mindset of being negative to what the other side is doing on small and even large creators in this space. They let emotion or stress get the better of them in the heat of the moment, and I get that. However, what I'm saying here is to just take a moment and reflect on how the match, on how it could have gone better, or what you could have done, realistically. If you or anyone do this enough, it leads to a little more interactive gameplay, smarter choices, and less frustration with what you're engaging with. I promise. And I would encourage you, if you are that person already, be that person to inform and educate others as to why something happened, so they can reach similar conclusions. So thus, you both benefit from playing and improving at the game. It's really that simple. Hopefully I made my point to you guys that to be a little more ambivalent, right? Kind of take the game as is, right? If you've had a rough game, GG's, go next, right? It's tough. Learn what you can, move on. That's what I'm hoping to get at, and that's one of the core issues that I wanted to talk about here today. But that's all I have for you guys. Take care and have fun out there. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.